to the Daddy Issues Podcast with Danny D, where we take a deep dive into the everyday lives of men who are fathers and husbands, their day-to-day struggles with mental health, fatherhood, finances, fitness, and how they build and maintain healthy relationships on a daily basis. So join us each week as we interview different men and get their perspectives on different topics, and also what they feel like they have to do every day to become the best version of themselves. So, if you're not too busy, let's get started. Thank you for joining me on the podcast today. I'm your boy, your host, Danny D. And guess what? Today is a very special day for you and for me. One, because you're the listener, and two, I'm the host. This is the first episode of the first season of Daddy Issues, and I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us, right? And before we get started, before we get into any topics, before we do some talking, because I promise you we're going to do some talking about some things, I want to let you know, man, you're special. You're brave. You're handsome. You're something. Yeah, I know that sounds cringy. I know it fucking sounds generic, but guess what? It makes you so uncomfortable because you're not used to hearing it. A lot of men aren't used to hearing that, man. But what's wrong with it? Think about the last person that actually came up and gave you a genuine compliment, man. Like, hey, looking good today, God. Man, look at you. You spot on. Compliments for men come far and few in between. You don't get them a lot, right? And that's because, you know, society doesn't think that we need to hear compliments, which I don't fucking know why. But it's kind of funny. I heard this in passing. This was in fucking passing. But when I heard it, I stopped and I'm like, man, that's kind of deep. Chris Rock was doing stand-up. He had the same Chris Rock that's got the shit smacked out of him by Will Smith. But that's a different ball of yarn. He was doing the stand-up and he said, the only people who get unconditional love are women and dogs. Think about that, man. The only people who get unconditional fucking love are women and dogs. Men, in order for men to get their love, they have to earn it. We have to earn it. And when you really sit down and you try to decipher that and think about that, man, that's 100% fucking accurate, man. Men come into relationships or even dates with a bunch of expectations from other people into them, right? This guy has to be, you know, dressed nice. This guy has to take me out on a date. This guy has to be a gentleman. This guy has to pay for the fucking bill. This guy has got to have his shit together. He's got to be interesting. He has to be all these fucking things, man. And that's how life is for men. We wear all these hats, right? You got to be the father of the year. You got to be a model employee. You got to be the greatest husband or the greatest boyfriend. You got to be unbelievable in fucking bed. Got to be an entrepreneur. Got to own your own shit. You got to have a nice car, a nice house. You got to have a bunch of fucking things going for you. You can't have a criminal record. We have all these expectations painted to us. Not to mention, we can't talk about stress. We cannot talk about stress. That's like a universal thing that's known among men. Oh, what you talking about? What you mean you're sad? I guarantee if just try it. Go up to one of your buddies. It's on a regular day and say, hey man, I want to talk to you about something. Hey, what's up? I'm stressed out. I'm depressed. Thinking about ending it all. Eventually, if you keep pressing the subject, they may take it seriously. But at first, their first reaction is probably going to be like, bro, what are you talking about? Or like, shut up. Like, huh? It's going to be like, huh? What are you talking about? Because in today's society, man, we're conditioned that way. You're supposed to be an alpha male. You're supposed to be the fucking David Goggins. You're supposed to be the Andrew Tate of the world, man. Have 50 supercars and just be a badass fucking Golden Gloves kickboxer with no problems. Everything's bouncing off of you, man. There's nothing that can get to you. You have an impenetrable shield around you. And for 99% of fucking men, man, we're not built like that, man. Our vision of a good day is making a little money, coming home and getting on our mat and our 2K, man. Right? Playing our Call of Duty, our Fortnite. And some women, that's childish. That's childish. But guess what, man? That's our stress reliever. That's another thing that's not good for men. Is that even our stress relievers, since we can't show emotion, we can't be fucking, you know, emotional, we can't express ourselves. We try to even be smarter with it and find another way. Like, hey, you know what? I know I can't sit down and talk about my feelings, but hey, I really enjoy playing my Call of Duty, hanging with the guys, I'm gonna do that. That's my stress reliever. Can't do that no more, man. That's a fucking problem now, because now society has seen that men are comfortable that way. Yeah, look at him. Look at him. He comfortable. So now they're trying to put a stigma on that. You need to grow up. You're too childish. What the fuck am I supposed to be doing? Supposed to be doing taxes? Huh? I just got off a 10-hour shift. You want me to come home and work on my business plan? No, I just want to have a cold drink and I want to sit here on this game and hang out with my guys. But again, the way the society's conditioned, man, it's not plausible for us. Which pretty much brings me full circle to our topic today. We're going to be talking about depression in men and how we're dealing with it. Are we dealing with it? Are we facing it? Are we hiding it still? Are we talking about it? Because it seems like we're not, man. And it's kind of it's sucky, man, because it's a double-edged sword, because majority of women want you to talk about your feelings. They say that. They don't fucking mean that, but they say that. They say, oh, I want my man to be more expressive, more in tune with his feelings, more willing to talk about things. That's not fucking true. What they really mean is that they want you to be more in tune with their feelings. They want you to be more in tune with the things that they're saying and what's going on with them. They don't really fucking, that sounds terrible coming out, but it's true. They don't really want you to be in tune with your feelings. Because just think about it. If you went to your lady today, some of you might even fucking try it just to see what it's like, man. Go to your woman and just break down crying in front of her, man. Just sobbing. Just fucking sobbing. Guess what, man? She'd be scared. Well, what's going on? What is going on? What is going on? Tell them, like, hey, I have depression. I'm suicidal. I'm down. I don't feel good. It don't have to be that extreme where you're thinking about putting a fucking gun in your mouth or hanging yourself. But if you were to be like, hey, I'm down. They would look to you for the answers. That's fucking ridiculous. Think about that. Really, really think about that for a second. Right? It's almost like a child when you whoop a child. For those who are fathers out there, you spank a child and the child runs back to you even though you just spanked him. That's how it is. It's like you're telling somebody, like, hey, I'm fucking panicking here. I'm having panic attacks. I'm depressed. I'm suicidal, and they're looking to you for the answer. What you gonna do? They're not offering suggestions or asking you, like, how are you gonna fix it? The person with the fucking problem, that's like asking a damn dope fiend how they plan off getting off dope. Like, oh, how you plan on stopping smoking crack? They're not giving you suggestions like, hey, maybe you should go check in a fucking rehab. Maybe we should pack your things and get you on a flight somewhere. They're asking you like, hey, yeah, how you plan on stopping? That's fucked up, man. But again, that's how society is designed for men these days, man. Which I kind of went off on a tangent, but back to depression and suicide, man. Right? I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a couple little statistics out there. And this article is from the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, the AFSP. All right, and this is a 2020 study. And you can, if you want to go look at it yourself, you can go to Psych Central because they have it on there. I'm sure they got you can probably find more updated numbers and things like that. But they don't put out these stats that often, right? But first of all, over the past 20 years, there's been an increase in suicide across men of all ages, not just men in relationships, not just fucking fathers, not just single people, just men in general are offing themselves. They're ending it. They're hanging it up, man. They're putting the pistols in the holsters and hanging it up like, I'm done, checking out. Right? A man, and this is a 2020 study, is 4 times more likely to kill himself than a woman. 4 fucking times more likely to kill himself than a woman. Now, they say women are 1.8 times more than men, but they say that their actions are more likely to be non-fatal. So they're making an attempt at suicide. They're not being successful. Men are 4 times more successful. So in 2020, there was 1.2 million total attempts at suicide. Think about that. And 1.2 million in the fucking United States, people are trying to kill themselves, right? That's men and women. 45,979 of those attempts were successful. Those were deaths from suicide. Right? And then the highest age group for suicide among men are men that are 45 and older, which I can see that. I can see that because they say, a lot of people say, man, when you get in your mid 40s, early 50s, you go through a midlife crisis, as they call it, right? I believe that you start to realize your mortality, like, man, I'm getting older, I got more aches and pains. You start thinking about fucking things that you didn't think about in your 20s and your 30s. Why would you? You're a kid. But you start thinking about, all the things you wish you could have did, you should have did, you would have did if you had, the financial means or the time or the success to do it. So that kind of gets you down. That kind of gets you depressed. Like, fuck, I wish I had a time machine. But at the same time, you're wearing a bunch of hats. You still got to wear those fucking hats. You still got to be a great father. You still got to be a loving husband. You still got to be that model employee. You still got to make that money and bring in that fucking bread. At the same time, you're having all these fucking thoughts, man, that you can't, remember, talk to anybody about. You can't. You could try, but you get fucking castrated, or it'll become, and that's so sad when you think about it, man. That's how that conversation turns out. It becomes a joke almost, like, hey, like you're trying to tell somebody, start out trying to tell somebody something serious, and it ends up as like, oh, I'm just fucking playing. It's almost like when a guy's trying to talk to a girl and he's really trying to express how he likes her, like, man, I'm really digging you. And she kind of makes him feel awkward. So he's like, oh, I'm just fucking playing with you, man. I don't like you. Da-da-da-da-da. That's ridiculous, man. But that's how it is. So I can see why, men in their mid 40s and their early 50s are contemplating suicide and going through with it, man. Because that's the thing, right? It's about time. It's about fucking time, which sucks, man, because guess what? We're trading our time for money. We're essentially giving our lives for money just to buy more fucking time. And think about that. Really think about that. We're giving our lives for money to take that money and turn around and buy more time. To go back to work. It's a sick fucking repetitive cycle, man. And I know a lot of people don't want to do that. Nobody wants to fucking go to work that has to work. Why? You can be doing so many other things. That's why they say, hey, man, you're living for the weekend. Especially for men. Excuse me, man. COVID. Man, I joke about COVID. Because we're considered the breadwinners, man. And not always by choice. I guarantee, like, there's a lot of guys out there who wish they could just stay home and be a stay-at-home. I did it for a year, and I loved it. I did. Being around my fucking kids, and my kids are still young, small. You start to realize all the different things that you miss, and you don't get to see on a daily basis because you're at work with your nose in between your boss's ass, man, trying to make ends meet. Right? But I loved it, man. It was great, man. My wife decided that she was gonna, pick up that, because I just came off a job. I worked a job for 6 years. I worked at the fucking United States Postal Service, man. Right? And I had enough. I decided I needed a fucking break. And my wife had a great job. She worked at a prison. So she said, you know what? Take the time. I'll work. Didn't last long and it's silly because I loved it. It was great. It wasn't that my wife said, hey, you need to get up and go back to fucking work, or our bills are becoming so heavy that I had to go back to work. We're fine. It was that stigma in myself, like, man, this feels weird. Why am I so comfortable? Is this okay? Is this okay to be this comfortable and be this happy? No. I gotta go back to work. I literally had to go find more work. Like, man, I can't do this. It just makes me feel weird, which just sucks because I enjoyed it. I see why women enjoy it. But that's the fucking point, man. That's the fucking point. We don't get no downtime. We don't get no breaks, man. And another bad thing that I think that men go through that I think they need to put a kibosh on. Kibosh means stop for those of you don't know what that means, is I don't like the double standard. There's so many fucking double standards now. It does go for men and women. It goes both ways, but we're talking about specifically men, double standards. So let's say, for example, a man decides that he's going to not work. He said, fuck it, I'm not going to work. I'm only speaking on this because, I just got done talking about this topic. The world, specifically women, because, that's like the majority group that's speaking out on this subject. You don't find a lot of fucking guys. So you tell a guy like, hey, I'm a stay-at-home dad, or I don't work. And they might say something in passing, but they're not going to harp on it. They'll be like, who fucking cares? It's not my money. I'm working. It's not my money. But when it comes to a woman, they have a bunch to say about it. The world has a bunch to say about it. Oh, you a deadbeat. You a bum. You don't want to provide for your family. You don't want to take care of your family. What kind of man are you? They tear you fucking down and tell you like, man, I gotta go work. I gotta go fucking work. But it's crazy because it's a double-edged sword. Because once you start working, guess what? The job is not good enough. It's not bringing enough money. You could be doing so much more. You need to be making more money. You need to be doing this and doing that. So it's just like, it sucks. And the double standard comes in because when a woman says, hey, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, I don't want to work, or I just want to quit my job, she's finding herself. She just finding herself. She just taking her time and just trying to figure her life out. Same thing with parenthood. A guy, and this is a slippery fucking slope. I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people, but you got to talk about it, right? So, and this is crazy because I'm gonna tell you about something else that I just learned a couple of years ago. But before I get in there, let me speak on this. It sucks because a man can be like, you know what? I'm leaving my kids. I'm leaving my family. This is not fucking working. Even if it's not toxic like that, where he just doesn't want to see the kids, he can be like, hey, this relationship is not working out between me and you. This was a mistake. Unfortunately, we had a kid, but I'm out, right? You'll hear every fucking thing in the book about that guy. He's a deadbeat. He's not a real fucking man. He's a loser. He's a deadbeat dad. He's not taking care of his family. But double standard is you can turn around, a woman can give their child up for fucking adoption or just be a shitty mom, right? And, she just confused. She not ready to be a mom. She's trying to find herself. The usual suspects, those terms. And that's fucking shitty because that makes a man be a villain. It makes you into a villain. You have no choice but to embrace it and be a fucking villain, right? Because I'm sure you've tried to explain that to that particular situation. I'm of the opinion that there's no person, right? And I'm sure I could be wrong. I'm sure there's people that'll disagree with me, but that goes into a relationship thinking about fucking up the relationship. It just doesn't make sense to me, right? I'm going to go into a relationship trying to fuck up the relationship. I'm going to go into this relationship not caring about this person or not wanting to be with this person. It's counterproductive. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, maybe there's a very rare case where a dude's just like, man, I'm going to go into this relationship and fuck this woman over. But someone who genuinely cares about somebody, and because that's a conversation. There has to be a conversation for a relationship to be initiated. Yeah, like you can go over and you can hang out with a woman, you can hang out, you can have sex, you can, just be cool, whatever. But if you're going to be in a relationship, there has to be, and 9 times out of 10, it's the woman who initiates this conversation because it makes sense. They get tired of, what is that term that old heads used to say? I shouldn't say old heads because somebody probably got offended, but I used to say like, what was it? Why pay for the cow where you can get the milk for free? That shit lives, man. That lives in a lot of women's head rent free. Because they start to feel a certain way, like, oh man, it's something internal with them, like, oh, I'm a hoe. I feel like a hoe. Why? Because we don't have a title placed on us. Like, oh, you're not committed to me. It's that fear, man. That fear, like, oh, he can leave me at any time. But I guess in their heads, if you say, hey, we're together exclusively, then that's like maybe an invisible fucking collar, invisible handcuffs. I don't know. But back to what I was talking about the double standards. Double standards for a man is it's treacherous, man. It's treacherous. There's a lot of things like that in life. Same thing with employment, right? A guy can decide that he's not gonna fucking work. He's gonna be a stay-at-home dad. He's gonna pursue other things. Even it doesn't have to be a stay-at-home dad. He could just be like, hey, I want to start my own business. I want to take a shot at this thing, right? Whoa, what are you talking about? You got to get your priorities together. You have responsibilities. That fucking word, that R word, man, that holds the weight. Responsibilities. How many times have you heard, you have responsibilities? But double standard, a woman can say, hey, you know what? I don't want to work. I want to go do this. I want to chase my dreams. I want to whatever. I want to write books. No, well, she's entitled to that. If she wants to, good for her. Good for her. And that's one thing that's always irritating me about us guys is that we can't have that empowerment with each other. Because a lot of women won't give a fuck what you're talking about. They won't care. They'll just be like, so you'd be like, hey man, you're being lazy. You're a deadbeat. So I don't care. This is what this is my life, and this is what I choose to do with it. And guys, we can't have that for some reason. We can't get that. We can't get enough of us together to have that empowerment. Where like, hey, King, go do what you want to do, right? Go do what you're happy about. Go do what you want to do, because it turns into something fucking toxic. Or that stigma of a man is supposed to be this picture or this ideal starts to suck, right? So let's get back on depression. So these are some of the warning signs that this particular research says that men exhibit before they decide to try to commit suicide, man, right? They have expressions of, and just listen to these signs, right? That precede death by suicide. Just think if you ever had any of these, man. And you'll just realize, man, that's how close I was. That's deep when you think about it. But first one is expressions of suicidal intent. How many of us guys play around and just say that shit in passing? Like, oh, fuck, I'm gonna fucking kill myself. I'm gonna kill myself. I said that shit. I think I said it this morning when I woke up. Like, man, fuck, I want to be dead. We say it a lot, man. Right? Maybe that's just one of our defense mechanisms of I don't know, maybe diffusing the situation by saying it out loud, hearing it, and then maybe in turn we psychologically say like, hey, that sounds stupid, you know, or whatever. Second thing is sense of helplessness. The sense of helplessness. I know that I personally had this. I can't even count how many times you have a sense of helplessness. Like, man, fuck, is this gonna get any better, or is this and it's shitty because it weighs so much heavier on a man's shoulders, that sense of helplessness. Like, I'm sure women all over the world have a sense of helplessness, right? And that's important too, and they need help for that. I'm sure there's a fucking podcast for them somewhere where they can get help for that. But here, we're focusing on men. And it weighs heavy on a fucking man. The sense of helplessness, man. Because like I said, we wear all those hats, man. People are looking at you. People are watching you. It's different when you're single and you're responsible for your fucking self. If something falls through, shit, man, I fucked up. You know, let me figure out how I'm gonna correct this issue. But when you have little lives, little people that you created, you know, if you're a father or you have a wife or even like a serious relationship and you fuck up, I mean, whether it be financially, you fuck up the money, or, you know, a business venture falls through, or, you know, something's not going, you get fired from your fucking job, or whatever the situation is, man, that sense of helplessness weighs heavy on a fucking man, because and it's crazy because you don't initially think about yourself. And I think a lot of men can attest to this. You don't initially think about yourself like, oh man, what am I going to do? It's always your first intent in your mind is always like, man, how am I gonna fix this for my family? Like, how am I remedy this situation so everybody can be okay? And it's funny because me and one of my best friends were just having this conversation the other day, and I told him, I said, I feel, this is just my personal opinion, man, and this is speaking on that your first mind when something happens, how you focus on other people. All right. But I'm of the mindset that I feel like if you have to take from yourself to make somebody else whole, I feel like that's a toxic relationship. Right? I feel like when two parties come together in a relationship, it should be mutual. That person, that man should add to that woman, and that woman should add to that man. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a difference between what I'm talking about and just giving somebody compliments or being, building somebody up. Right? That's free. There's nothing to that. Excuse me. Drink some of this water, guys. This is live production. It's different. That's different, right? That's you just doing what you're supposed to do in a relationship is making that person feel special. But I'm talking about something deeper. When you have to take from yourself, you have to constantly help that person with their fucking traumas so they're whole. And taking from yourself can mean a lot of things. It can be time, right? You're constantly giving the time to that person that you could be using to develop yourself, because that person is never whole. They're searching for something. And I don't think it's fair, but it happens in a lot of relationships that person is relying on you just because you have that title of being their significant other to make it better. And in turn, when you have pushback or you say, I don't got time for that today, you're a monster. You're fucking Frankenstein, right? You're Dracula. Well, what do you mean? I mean, this is what I'm talking about. And there's also another flip side to that coin. If you go above and beyond, and you're always giving yourself, right? You're that, say that you embrace that role. Like, hey, fuck it, I don't care about toxicity. I'm going to constantly take from myself, and I'm going to give to this particular person and build them up to what it is. That's a very slippery, dangerous slope, because guess what? In some cases, that person that you're constantly taking from yourself, building up, starts to look at you in a particular way. Like, hey, fuck, I could do better. Think about that. Man, I can do better. This person is beneath me. This person is not who I thought they were. But you were that person when they first met you. You've just given so much of yourself that you're no longer appealing to that person. Think about that. You've given so much of your fucking self, and we're talking about men in relationships. You've given so much of yourself to this particular person that you're not appealing to that person anymore because you're a fucking shell of yourself. Of course you look better than me. I don't have time to go work out. I've been giving my time to you. Of course I don't dress the snazziest. I've been giving my time to you. I haven't had time to go get any suits tailor fucking made. And that's another pitfall for men. A lot of men go through that, right? A lot of men go through that. And whether we want to admit it or not, or women want to admit it or not, they're emotional creatures. Man, they live off of emotion. They thrive off of emotion. A man is more calculated. Not to say that men won't do crazy shit, because they'll damn sure do some crazy shit, but they're more calculated, right? They won't. Now, with another man, they will, and that's because they just, I don't know, man, it's this sense of alpha. Like, oh, I can spaz out on this fucking guy because he's a man, We're on an equal playing field. But like in a relationship, a dude won't immediately spaz out. There are some guys that do, but he'll be more calculated. He'll go off on his own, or he'll take some time and think about what he wants to do. He'll talk himself up into a frenzy. Then he'll go back and he'll fucking act. That's why you see a lot of these videos or a lot of these guys on video, just doing crazy shit. Oh my God, what is he doing? It's wild because like maybe a month ago I was on Facebook with my wife and we were watching a video of this dude. He just was like, he pulled up on this lady's house and he was just fucking, he just came into the house, and I guess they broke up like 2 weeks prior, she said. 2 weeks this relationship's been over, right? This guy just, I guess her friend somehow, maybe in spite, because the friend didn't like the guy or whatever, because she said that she's been telling the girl to get away from this guy for a while now. But anyways, the girl's friend told the guy like, oh yeah, she's with somebody new. And the guy confirmed it, and he came over and he spazzed out. The guy's taking out fucking washers and dryers and refrigerators. He's taking out all the fucking appliances, taking out TVs, and he's not even loading them. He's not even loading them. Like, the cops were there the whole time. Of course they were being shitty, but they were standing there, and he was like, hey man, this is my shit. This is my fucking shit. I'm allowed to do this. And he was just throwing it in the fucking front yard. He was throwing it in the front yard, and of course the cops could have did something, but they didn't want to get involved in a domestic dispute. But he just was taking all the shit, just breaking it, throwing it in the front yard. And then, he talked to Wild a little bit, threatened her a couple times in a passive aggressive way. Of course, he didn't say, "Oh, fuck you up." He didn't want to go to jail, and then he left. He fucking left. He drove off. He drove away. And that's what I say about a man is more calculated. It takes them. They can get triggered like everybody else, but it takes them some time to really work themselves up into a frenzy. Now, on the flip side of that, a woman, they thrive off of fucking emotion. Thrive off of it. Right then and there, they'll act. And if it could be with another woman, it could be with another guy, with another woman. If a woman, and I know a lot of guys can attest to this. They'll be with their lady, and another lady will do something or look a certain way at them, and they'll just boom, they'll go into it. Oh, what the fuck is she looking at? What's her problem? Who does she think she is? Do you see her? Do you see how she's looking at me? Excuse me. They thrive off of emotion. In relationships, with guys, you have a conversation with a woman and say something, she'll fucking fly off the handle. Right there. She won't even think about it. This, and that. And if it goes further, start breaking shit, stabbing tires, acting crazy. And I know this concept is new to a lot of you guys, right? Because some of you guys listening to this probably don't go through this. It's not the average relationship. Like me, I would never do that toxicity. I know a lot of people that go through it, but I'm not about to be in there running around destroying fucking property and fighting and punching. No, I'm not. That's not me. I can't even see it. I can't live like that. But there are a lot of people who literally live like that, right? So you gotta be careful, man. You gotta be careful because we're already facing a lot of double standards. You're facing a lot of pressure in the world already. So you have to be careful who you interact with, right? And that brings us back to that sense of helplessness, right? Having that fucking sense of helplessness and not having your first mind on yourself. Sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes you got to, because you're the provider. You're in that situation. That's why you're so emotionally attached to that phrase, sense of helplessness. That helplessness, you're attached to it because it has something behind it. You're responsible for people. People are looking up to you. So you immediately like, oh man, what the fuck I'm gonna do to get this situation fixed? But sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself, which sounds fucked up, is take a deep breath and focus on you. Like, man, how can I fix myself so I won't get back in the situation again? But if you're fixed, or you're fixing, or you're working on the situation for yourself, you're better equipped to handle everybody else. Because like I said a couple minutes ago about giving pieces of yourself, giving pieces of yourself, that's going to take a toll on you. And guess what? Once you give that piece of yourself away, when they come back to get another piece, because I promise they will come back and get another piece, because that's why it's toxic. You can't give them the same piece. They already got that. You got to give them another piece. So eventually you become a shell of yourself. That sense of helplessness is setting in, right? So the next one is sense of worthlessness. And that's a big thing too. All right, that's kind of self-explanatory. When you don't have nothing going for you, you don't have a fucking job, or you don't have an education, or it doesn't even have to be that deep. It could just be you feel like you're not worthy. Like, man, what the fuck am I doing? How many? That's the same thing. How many of us have said that phrase? Like, man, what the fuck am I doing in my life? Or what is going on? Like, who am I? That's that sense of worthlessness. And some people, they can put that spirit onto you, man, that sense of worthlessness, man. Like, who are you? And like I said, we're speaking about men in relationships right now. Women know how to cut deep, man. Women know how to cut deep. I feel like the majority of relationships, and this is mine included, men have gates. Men have bars. There's some things that men will not go to. They will not say. Even though they want to fucking say it, and they want to, some dudes will. They don't give a fuck. They're like, I'm going to say this. I don't care. At that point, in their mind, they've already decided this relationship is coming to an end. So they're going to say whatever they want to say. But the majority of the time, men have bars. They have gates. They have caution tape. Hey, you know what? I'm mad right now. I'm fuming. I'm saying a lot of things I don't mean, but I will not go here. I will not cross this line. On the flip side of that coin, women, I think men can attest to this. Women are good for just flying off the fucking handle and saying the most hurtful shit they can think of, right? Oh, your dick is small, super little, like a pinky. You just know that's a fucking trigger for that person. Like, man, what? Or look at you. You don't even have a fucking job. You're jobless. You're a bum, right? Oh, you can't even take care of me and your family. Like, just fucking treacherous things, man. And it sucks because guess what? It's those same hats we wear that allow people to give us that sense of worthlessness, man. Those hats. You're a provider, right? You're an employee, you're a father, you're all of those fucking things. So when you fail to perform any of those duties, man, you give that person that power to give you that sense of worthlessness. You're not taking care, you lost your job, you're not taking care of your fucking family, you don't got no money, you broke. You're ugly, you're fat, whatever. And men have, and it's hard for men to talk about that sense of worthlessness. That's one of the leading causes of depression, man. Just feeling like, you don't got it. So you have to be careful who you give that power to. You gotta be fucking careful who you give that power to. Because that sense of worthlessness, man, that's depression in a nutshell to me, man. Feeling like you're not worthy, right? And what's on the end of that not worthiness? Like, who are you not worthy to? That's what causes depression, which brings it full circle to your family, your wife, your kids. You feel like you're worthless to them. Like, what am I here for? Which I don't think's fair, but that's how men are wired, man. Because like I said, we're designed, and society puts us in that box where we have to be useful. Which, that story that I said earlier in the show about Chris Rock saying that only dogs and women, get love, unconditional love. They have worth right out the gate. Men, we have to earn our worth. We have to prove our worth, right? So that's another thing, another sign you got to look out for, man, is that sense of worthlessness. And the next one is desperation or frustration with seemingly unsolvable problems. I can't even explain how on point that is, man. As a man, that desperation and frustration, like when you come across a fucking problem and you can't, you just want to fix it so fucking bad. Like, for example, like you got a family, and your money's not right, and your money's funny, as they would say. The frustration that you feel, the desperation that you feel, because you just want to fix this problem so fucking bad, man. Like, I just want to have fucking money. I'm so frustrated because I just want to have money. Because it's simple when you think about it. Like, when you fucking think about it on paper, it's so simple. Just have more money. You're having more problems, you're having money issues, have more money. On paper, that sounds super easy. You can write it down, have more money. But all the fucking things that you have to do to obtain that money. Maybe take a second job, maybe a third fucking job, pick up more hours, give more time, give more yourself, give that life force away. It's frustrating, man. That can create what we're talking about the sense of helplessness and the sense of worthlessness, man, because you're so desperate and so frustrated to fix this seemingly unsolvable fucking problem that you're willing to do anything to fix it, which could lead to whole other segues we can go into, man. When you're so desperate, you're willing to, rob, steal, and kill for it, right? Or, break the rules, or lie on your timesheets, or just doing crazy fucking things. And like I said, what we're talking about today, you have to realize what's on the end of this, what's attached to this. Okay, and this is crazy because me and my buddy was actually talking about this as well a couple weeks ago. Is that I was explaining to him that when you have an issue, you have to look at it like a sickness, right? And men do this a lot. A lot of men don't understand that these things around us are extensions of our sickness. And so to elaborate on that, you might be depressed, you might be frustrated, you might be just going through some type of personal issues, right? And you're trying to sit down and you're trying to figure out, like, I'm sick. This is my issue. This is what's going on. But it's not. That's an extension of your sickness. You have to figure out what your sickness is. What's making you feel depressed? What's making you feel frustrated? Yeah, you're not making enough money. It sucks, but that's not your sickness. That's an extension of your fucking sickness. You have to go figure out, is it really my job, or is it everything that's tied to my job? Is it my mortgage? Is it my car payments? Is it my family? Is it my kids? Is it my wife? Is that my sickness? And I'm not saying sickness in a bad way, like they're bad for you. What I'm saying is you have to look at what the core of the problem is. Everything else is an extension of that problem. So if we look at it just as sickness, when you're sick, you're having a fever. That's an extension of being sick. You may have diarrhea or running a fever. Those are all extensions of a sickness. But the great thing about sickness is once you heal the sickness or fix that problem, the extensions go away. So as men, we have to do some internal soul searching and not give too much emphasis on the extensions of sickness. We need to focus more on what we feel the actual sickness is, what the actual problem is, the cause. Fix that, and all the other extensions will go away. And I think that in itself would alleviate a lot of stress, because you won't be looking at, if you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 extensions of the sickness, it looks like a lot to deal with. Man, I don't have enough money, or I'm depressed, or I'm out of shape. I'm this. You have all these extensions. But if you can just focus on that sickness, the core issue, those extensions are going to solve themselves. They'll go away, right? So we have to work on our desperation and our frustration when problems come along, right? Especially unsolvable problems, or problems that we feel are unsolvable. Because that, again, one of the signs of suicide for men is that you feel trapped. I think that's a better way of putting that bulletin point, is that you feel trapped. And it's crazy because you're not committing, I shouldn't say committing suicide, but contemplating suicide because you feel trapped, desperate, or frustrated. It's the things attached to that, right? Like you don't want to face your family because you can't financially support them, right? You don't want to face your kids because you feel like you're not a good father. You don't want to go home because you just lost your job. Yeah, you are desperate and you are frustrated, but it's not because you're desperate and you're frustrated. It's because you're thinking about all the things that come along with that. I'm desperate because I want to fix this for my family. I'm frustrated because I can't fix this for my family. It's an unsolvable problem, which really isn't, because all you need is time. You need to sit down, do a tactical pause, and try fixing that. But like I said, it's precious, man. It's a precious commodity, and you never feel like you have enough time. And sometimes the entities around you, family, friends, they press you more. Like, oh man, what are you gonna do? You gotta figure this out. You gotta figure this. So you feel like your small time window is even smaller, right? And the last sign that they have here is a sudden or a sudden change in your emotion. Positive, you're super positive, and you're super, almost being like bipolar, right? You're bipolar, you're happy, you're up and you're down, you're up and you're down, you're up and you're down. That could be a sign of suicide, which sounds crazy, but I guess when you think about it, it makes sense, man. Because you're constantly on this roller coaster of emotions. I'm happy, I feel good. That's one thing. That's why you can't just live for a moment. Like, you cannot fucking just live for a moment. Like, I'm working for a moment, I'm living for a moment, because anything can happen from moment to moment. So if you got your mind set on that moment, like, I want this moment to be this exact way, and it doesn't work out for you, man, your whole fucking world's gonna crash in, right? That's why it's better to work for a goal, like an overall goal, not a moment. Like, hey, this is what I want to achieve, and just know you can string together a bunch of good and bad moments to achieve that goal, because everything is not going to be right all the time. It's not going to always be a straight line, beeline to your goal. So you have to really work on your mood swings. And men, we have a lot of mood swings and we don't really talk about them, right? So kind of the next topic that we're going to talk about is, you know, how we're dealing with these things. What are men doing to deal with it? How can we be better? How can we be more in tune with our fucking selves, more in tune with our emotions to be able to help out these hurdles, man, the sense of helplessness, the sense of worthlessness, the expression of suicidal intent. I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Right? Honestly, I think it's super simple, man. Super simple fix. We have to start taking time for ourselves, which I said in the beginning of the show, which sucks for men because women are good at it, man. They can just take time to themselves. They can just go off and just drop every fucking thing. They're great. They'll just drop everything and they'll just go take time to themselves. They'll deal with the consequences later. Men, we're not too keen on doing that. We try to be too calculated. Okay, well, I'm gonna take this much time and then I'm gonna fix this. And then the time that we're taking, that we're supposed to be taking a breather, working on ourselves, we're thinking about fixing the situation that we just left. That's fucking crazy. I'm gonna take some time to myself, and then you go to yourself and you think about what you just left. No, man, you gotta fucking, what they say, like with financial money, like you gotta pay yourself first. You gotta say, hey, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna decompress. I gotta fucking decompress, even if it's you sitting in the car. And it's imperative to me, imperative that you make it known to your spouse, your significant other, whoever you're with, that one, it's okay for you to decompress. They have to understand that it's okay for you to decompress, right? You don't have to go from wearing the provider hat, the employee of the year hat, right to the dad hat. You can have some downtime in between there. You can decompress, even if it's you sitting in the car, sitting in the garage for 30 minutes. But communication is key. It's important that you let that person know, like, hey, listen, this is nothing personal. I'm fucking decompressing. I need to, because if I don't, I'm a snap. Now, we're not saying it could be extreme as what we're talking about today, suicide and depression, but it could be something simple as an argument. I'm gonna snap on your ass. I'm gonna start yelling. I'm gonna have an attitude, which is gonna just in turn snowball and lead to something else. So I need this decompression. I feel like that's one of the first steps of avoiding all these symptoms, man. The anger, the apathy, the hopelessness, the worthlessness, all that shit. You gotta decompress, man. You gotta let it go. And like in the beginning of the show when we were talking about, Madden and 2K and Call of Duty, it kind of was a joke, but that's true. If that's your decompression, that's your decompression. You have to also understand you don't need decompression validated. Someone doesn't have to agree to let you have decompression or downtime. Well, you don't need that approval. Yeah, you're being respectful by letting that person know that you're decompressing so they won't take it personal, because like I said, women live off of emotion and they will take it personal. You're just letting them know, like, hey, this is my time. This is what I'm doing for myself right now. You're still going to have family time. You're still going to have, romantic, personal time. You're still going to have, your job time. But this specific time I've cut out, even if it's going to the gym, lifting weights, this is for me. This is my decompression. I think another way that we can avoid this rising suicide rate in men and depression in men is having that empowerment between each other, right? Fuck it, bro. Go join a man group. Go talk to some other men who are going through what you're going through. If you can't talk to your buddies about it, because some people are stuck in their fucking ways. No matter what you say, no matter how important it is or how scary it sounds, because you're going through it. Only you know you. So if you know it's scary and it's fucking dangerous and it's toxic to you, and they're not taking it serious, stop fucking talking to that person. Now, I'm not saying cut that person off. Just when it comes to that particular subject, stop talking to them about it. Everybody has their season. I can still be your friend. I can still be cool. But just know, like, when it comes to that situation, you can't talk to that fucking person because they're not hearing you. So you need to find somebody that you can relate to on your level, right? If a guy has cancer, the best person to talk to is somebody with cancer, right? Because you guys have that in common. You can relate. You can be on that level. And there's tons of spaces and places and people who are going through what you're going through. Our problem is we don't want to seek them out because we feel we're doing it. Because in a way, we're admitting that we have an issue that needs to be fixed. And again, that doesn't align with society because you're not supposed to show your emotions. So I think that's another thing you can do is go find somebody relatable to you. Relatable. And I think the last thing, there's 7, 8, 9, 10 things you can do, but these are just some things that I'm naming, right? So we named about decompression. That's just you time. If you're meditating, if you're reading, if you're working out, or playing your 2K, or playing your Madden, your game, or your video game, period, right? Second thing I mentioned is finding somebody relatable, somebody that you can talk to, whether it be a group or just a person, right? Someone that can relate and talk to you on that level and be able to get deep and give you good insight, right? And I think the last thing that we can do is be careful about the situations that we get ourselves into. And to elaborate on that, I'm talking about don't put yourself in a toxic situation. And I know sometimes that's hard because you can't tell somebody something that they're in love. They're blinded by love. They just think this person's the one. Even they're ignoring all that. And I've done it. Everybody's fucking done it. Right? You have to really take your time and consider things. Consider them. We're not good at considering things. We're gung-ho. We'll jump into it like, hey, this is the move. We're not really decisive about things. Right? We just say, fuck it. Go into it. We have to be more calculated about things. We have to be like, hey, this might not be for me. There's nothing wrong with going on a trial run. Would you just go buy a fucking car? Like, maybe some of us will, but would you just go buy a car? Like, I'm buying a car. Buying a car. This is the car I want. No questions asked. No, you would test drive that car, and then you would do research on that car. You would look at some fucking reviews about that car. And then once you've took all those things into account, then you can make a decision. That's how we got to look at our relationships. That's how we got to look at our lives and our jobs and our families. We have to be more calculated. We have to make sure that we're not putting ourselves in bad positions, right? And this small notable thing that I think we could do to avoid these, I shouldn't say avoid depression, but alleviate some of our tension and depression is understand it's not going to happen overnight, right? I'm of the mindset that you can't look at all of it at once, right? If you're walking across the desert, or let's say that's kind of extreme. Say you're running a race. You can't think like, fuck, I got to run 100 miles. Oh man, I only got 65 miles left. You can't. That'll break you. You have to look at it in small increments. You have to string a bunch of small days together. And guess what? You string enough small days together, you'll fool around, man, and get the result that you want. You'll get to where you want to be. It's like when you're weightlifting. You're not going to go in there and just work out. Any serious weightlifter or serious person that's seriously in the gym that's out of shape or weight, or even it could be just like you got done with a bulk. Like, hey, I'm puffy. If you've done it before, you're not gonna get shredded in a week or 2 weeks. It's a progression. So you have to start looking at things in progression, in cycles. Like, hey, today I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to focus on having positive energy. And then the next day, guess what? I'm going to focus on this, and just keep stringing those good days together. Boom, 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 boom. And eventually, man, you'll come up with a formula. You'll come up with a nice cycle that you like, that helps you center yourself and helps you, be more calm, be more patient, be more loving, be the better version of yourself, right? This is a good talk today, guys. This is a good talk, man. We're coming up on the end of the show. We're pretty much there. I hope you guys enjoy the content. I hope you guys enjoy the talk. I hope you guys got something out of it, because that's the goal, man. I'm nobody, right? I'm just Danny D, man. I'm nobody. I'm just a vessel, man. I know that kind of goes against everything we're just talking about empowerment, but that's how I look at it, man. I'm just a guy with a voice, man. I'm a guy talking from personal experience and experiences of other people that I know. Like I said, man, don't hold this in. Don't keep this to yourself. Share it, man. Even if you have to, man, sit down with your lady and listen to it together. Listen to the show together. Because I think there's things that we have to face, things that we have to come to the conclusion on that we're scared to do. Right? So like I said, man, make sure you guys tune into the show. We'll have somewhere on Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts. So wherever you listen to your podcast, you can get this podcast. If you listen to this on Facebook or Instagram, like, try to share it. Get it out, man. Get it out, man. If we can build a community, we can get more guys going. We can get a conversation going. Maybe we can change this fucking toxic cycle that men are stuck in, man. Maybe we can change these constraints that they put on us as men in this world. Right? But that's never going to happen, man, if we don't come together and do better. Right? So make sure that you guys tune in every week, because every week we're dropping an episode. I don't know how many episodes are going to be in the season. I'm thinking 16. I'm going to give you guys 16 diamonds, 16 gems of knowledge. And hopefully you guys enjoy it, man. So remember, you guys are strong, you're brave, you're handsome. Look at you, handsome. You're handsome. And just keep working every day on being the best version of yourself, man. I'll let you, boy.